Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Welcome back to Houselights, our director discussion show here on the Nerd Party Network. We're entering a new house today, the house of director Roland Emmerich. We will cover all of his directed works from the 1990s. While you may think that we'd be starting with 1992's action film Universal Soldier, the title of this podcast will definitely confirm that we found a copy of his first 90s work with Moon 44. Why are there 44 moons? Has Emmerich watched Cameron's Aliens on repeat on Laserdisc? What's the Star Trek connection among these actors? You will find those answers today. I am Galactic Mining Board member number 4, Darren Moser, and I'm joined again by my friends, helicopter ace pilot John Mills and his trusty navigator, Tristan Riddell. Well, the shuttles are leaving, so we better start our discussion on this gem of a film, Moon 44.
I just want to take a second to say that, Darren, you got the assignments right this time. It's absolutely correct. I'm the too cool for school, cigarette smoking in a pressurized helicopter on a space moon pilot.
Very pressurized.
Yes, and Tristan is definitely the guy in my cradle chair spinning around screens, making sure that I don't crash into mountains with repeated footage.
Yeah, because heaven forbid
repeated footage. I don't know what you're talking about, John. That shot of the mining bucket was, I almost started a shot game of like how take a shot every time you see that. Oh man, so many.
Well, I just want to say I want to talk to the ergonomics professional at their HR department, because I feel like it would be a great deal easier if they just put two screens next to each other instead of 180 degrees from each other in a swivel chair.
You'd think so, but I have to tell you that I work with two screens. Now, I work sometimes even with three screens. And I can tell you that I get confused all the time with those screens right next to each other. And I think actually when I go into the office tomorrow, I'm actually going to put the screens, one in front of me, one behind me, so that I can always keep track of what is actually happening very efficiently.
We'll all be doing that by 2038. It's just how it is.
Right. It's the future. We haven't caught up yet. It's only 2024 right now. That's
first
why
step,
we're not there.
Separate the screen. Second step, change the pivot point of your chair to the ceiling. Obvious makes way more sense.
Brilliance. Absolute brilliance.
I think they just went with it because it was cool. Honestly, I mean, there's a lot of things in this movie that just
was it though.
For the cool.
Was it?
It kind of was. Oh man! So Moon 44. Yeah, it's it.
You know what? Let me jump in. It's going to be somebody's favorite movie.
Oh yeah.
I promise you it's somebody's favorite movie, because I'll never forget my friend Jason. We were talking about, I think the movie was Firefox with Clint Eastwood.
Oh,
and
that's a gem.
Yeah, but I was sharing some opinions about it, and he goes, "No, you don't understand. I know somebody. It's his favorite movie." And I said, "What?" He goes, "What Star Wars is for you, Firefox is for this guy." I said, "You're not really." So I promise you that there is somebody out there that Moon 44 is their favorite movie, and it's not even Roland Emmerich or Dean Devlin. So
okay, total tangent to what you were saying with Firefox, right? Firefox with Clint Eastwood?
Firefox.
Yeah. So not my dad, a browser-based movie, as you might suspect.
Not Chromium or anything like that.
Right.
But my dad and I were at the video store. It was just the two of us, and we're like, let's get a movie. Let's get a movie, and we see something that looks like a fighter jet film. We're like, this looks action packed. We're big fans of Firebirds and Iron Eagle and Top Gun. I bet you it's going to be just like this one. And we watch the whole thing, and we don't see a jet until the last 30 seconds of the movie.
Wow.
And my dad and I just look at each other like, that was not what we expected. But Moon 44 was sadly pretty much what I expected.
Well, I think to start off on a positive note, I am really interested as we go into this new house with Emmerich in the 90s, because a lot of his 90s movies are very big name. Are they all the best movies? We'll decide in the next couple of weeks. But I am really interested in seeing his progression. I'm interested in looking at those later films now with this lens of, oh yeah, well, he kind of did that in a poorer way on Moon 44, but then he got it right, later on Stargate or something like that. Like I really am curious, as he is really coming into his own. This was his first English only movie. So he had done other movies that were in German and also in English, but this one, I don't want to say put him on the map, but he's going in the right direction with this. And it's only a few years later are we going to get Universal Soldier and then Stargate and then Independence Day. So all that to say, yes, Tristan, this is a movie, like I was joking in the very beginning of, have you seen Aliens? Because I'm sure he has, because man, from Evil Company to some of the shots on Moon 44, like I felt like they just took the sets and brought them over to this movie.
The only reason why I can tell that the people who made this movie had ever seen a movie before was because the production design was complete ripoff from the Alien franchise. If it wasn't for that production design, I would think like, has this person ever seen a motion picture before and seen how humans talk?
Well, I would say that also there's a definite flavor of Blade Runner about it as well.
There's a hint of Blade Runner.
There's a hint of
a sprinkle, a whisper of cinnamon, if you will.
Yeah, it's like the base is aliens, and the sprinkle on top of the whipped cream, which is helicopters in space, which you have to admit is not something that really is something that I've ever considered as the thing that I would do.
At least they're in atmosphere on a moon. If it was helicopters literally in space, bridge too far. But True. Also, some odd choices in terms of the, to speak to your point, Tristan, about, you're jokingly saying, had these people ever seen a movie before? I think that the real question is, did they sit down and map out the topography of where they were going? Because I'd say that is undoubtedly the biggest thing that I want to see grow in Emmerich's trajectory here. Because I remember his movies from the 90s, and I don't remember him struggling the same way I did watching this movie of, where am I in relation to anything else happening right now? Because basically wherever the helicopter was flying, what was in front of it was whatever needed to be dictated for some shot, as opposed to a sense that, I'll say whatever else you want to say about like the Phantom Menace. You have a sense of the course in the pod race. There's a map in your head. You're like, I could find my way around there. This doesn't have that map. And what I want to know is like, was that just that Emmerich was just dreaming too big for the budget that he had? Like, is there anything about this where like you look at the script and you're like, the script isn't great, but it's not bad necessarily? That's my first question. But my second question is like, is this just something where the script was so large in their heads that the only way you would have been able to make this in 1990 is with 4 times the budget, right? Like you have a very hungry filmmaker that just is aching to get the movie done and just doesn't have the resources necessary to make his vision happen.
I don't even see the bones of that. I don't.
Wow.
Okay. I don't. I think that's a very valid question, because I think there's a lot of times when you see a movie where they're trying to do too much, or you can see a movie with studio interference, or a movie that clearly has a lack of budget or clearly ran out of money by the time they get to the third act. Like there's so many times you see that. With this movie, I see no redeeming qualities when it comes to the script or the acting or the direction. It's just, it's the plot. It's so rare to find a plot that is so simplistic yet hard to follow. Like you're talking about the geography of where they are in the building or where they are in the helicopters or where they are on the terrain, which I think are extremely valid points and something that we really like to focus on Houselights, especially when we're dealing with directors' first works or beginning of their first works. We kind of, that's a recurring theme that I think we've noticed, is that from an editing standpoint and from a cinematography standpoint, it's sometimes easy to get lost in the geography of the moment, in the physical space. I get lost in the geography of the script. I don't understand the point of this movie. I don't get the message that it's trying to say. It's anti-corporate. It's clearly anti-corporate at some point. But I get lost so much in this. I have such a hard time caring. I don't know who I'm supposed to root for, and the protagonist is one of the weakest protagonists I've ever seen. I'm going off on a tirade right now, but there's just, I'm sorry, I can't find any redeeming value in this movie whatsoever.
No, and I mean, to your point on the geography, John, I can think of two anchor, landmarks when they're outside. There's the dead end where all the crashed ships are, and there's just outside their compound. Like, that's it. Everything else is you're flying through Johnny Quest intro. But
I like that.
But I feel like, in science fiction, especially, it's always really important to have rules that you live by. The rules are how ships are governed, how communications happen, what can and can't be done. And as long as you set those rules and then follow them, the audience is kind of know what to expect, know what is dangerous or difficult. I was always trying to figure out what exactly the navigators were doing and why this whole pilot navigator thing, because sometimes it was like, you can't see around the next turn, so we're going to tell you that you need to pull up. And then sometimes it was like, I'm literally going to target your weapons for you. And it always felt like there was
also
a lag.
Speed too.
And speed. And it never clicked, because I was like, and then they're using these terms like, oh, a little to your left. I'm like, that is the vaguest direction to give a pilot who's flying through a canyon.
The thing is, with my fear of flying, that's exactly how I think control towers speak to pilots. They say a little to your left, and they just let them sort of figure it out from there. They don't say like, okay, trim 4 degrees. So you're, like whatever technical jargon that they have. But in terms of that pilot navigator thing, I want to hug the cactus here. I want to go right for this. Okay. Because Key at one point is a poor navigator who is abused rather harshly. I don't even want to say what they imply happens. And then, of course, that turns into, well, he exacts his revenge by making his pilot crash. And then Dean Devlin's character, Tyler, tries to stop him from doing it. And that is one of those things that I think speaks to the confusion of the motivations of the characters, because with what happens to that navigator in the showers, I don't know why anybody would stop him from doing what he does to increase the speed and make the guy crash.
Not only did Tyler stop him, he shakes him and screams, "Why?"
Right. Yeah, when he's the one that discovered.
When
why?
He's the one who discovered
him. He should be the one who knows of any of them. He should know why.
If anything, I'll go out on a limb, and that seems like a scene where they had it written and they did that, and then they maybe changed what happened to him later, because we all know they don't shoot in sequence.
Like something happens, and he now wants revenge. Oh, what is the thing that happens? We'll get to that.
We'll figure that one out later. Yeah.
It could be
because the two things just don't line up. And the thing that is unsettling to me is simply the fact that the poor kid simply being bullied and harassed and pushed around and like tripped in the mess hall and stuff like that. That's enough to push him and have him snap. What they have happen in the movie is so gratuitously. I remember sitting there and watching it. I'm like, are we really doing this? Like, is that and then all of the other pilots walk out and I'm like, whoa, hey, what? Like, why am I watching this?
All of them are complicit. and what just happened. And so it's no longer like two factions who need to just learn to get along.
No, lines have been drawn.
Lines have been drawn. We have evil people,
Mm-hmm.
and then innocent victims. But then we have horrible things happen to the victims, and you have like you have Cookie who drugs somebody but then feels bad about it, and then like we have this moment when he talks about how what he likes about being a drug dealer to the guy who he tried to kill, and then all of a sudden I'm just like, what am I supposed to feel? Am I supposed to feel bad for Cookie? Am I supposed to feel bad for the guy who was drugged, who's complicit in the rape? What am I supposed to feel? Who am I supposed to root for?
Well, and it's like they're wanting both sides. They want these despicable convicts, these prisoners that, have no redeeming qualities. They're the dredge of societies, but they have to fight, to earn time off their sentence. But we also want to empathize with them. It's like, but you can't have both. And maybe you can, I think with Brian Thompson's, Jake O'Neill, his character had the most arc. He had the sacrifice at the end, but they didn't make him the character that rapes his navigator. It's he has the most to kind of arc his plot. But again, like I said, it's like you kind of can't have it both ways. And they try to.
Yeah, I just that whole thing, it's so blisteringly unnecessary.
Is it to get an R rating? Because there were times during a lot of this, like maybe a little bit of swearing, but besides that scene, is it even like this would be a PG-13 movie? There's no blood, really. I mean,
honestly,
it's very tame overall.
There is nothing about the construction of this movie that makes me think they had rating in mind at all. Like there are movies where you can watch where it's like, oh, okay, they did that, or they pulled back on that, or they punched that up because they were thinking there's a board sitting of ratings. I honestly, the whole vibe I get from Moon 44 is this was a group of people throwing this together because there were some investors that wanted to make a movie or something. Like there's nothing about this that feels like a movie where anybody sat down and said, this is a story that has to be told. This is a movie put together that I am humble enough to say that if I had been given the chance to make a movie at some point in my life, this is probably how it would have turned out with the subtraction of the shower scene, because even I have limits. And I think that this very much is just a bunch of ideas slapped together in an attempt to get a foothold in the American film arena, right? I can put this together. I can manage the project. I can have the thing go. And there is a sense, because we reference Aliens, but there is a sense along the same lines of like a Terminator, where it's like, oh, if I can just put this together, I can maybe get like a little bit of a cult hit or some sort of traction where I at least have something on my calling card where I can say, yes, I've directed a film of some sort of appreciable budget where I have some modicum of recognizable talent in it. And the production made it in on time, got released, and got done. And there's nothing like so the whole movie feels just like a business transaction. And I think that's sort of what is so empty about the experience.
Well, because you're in the era of like Enemy Mine, you're pushing effects. Like they're obviously models, but they're decent models. There's like so much haze, but I guess that's how you hide the seams. But you're also right in this time of early 90s where CGI isn't really a huge thing yet. It's very expensive. Like ILM is the only one doing that to that level. So you're kind of right at the tipping point of you can do pretty decent effects, but they're not going to look as real as what's right around the corner and about to happen in cinema. And that, is kind of hampering it to a point on the effects side.
In one sense, I'm actually stunned because I just took a look while you were talking there, Darren, that the budget was $15 million.
How?
Because the year before this comes out, Batman, our beloved Batman from 1989, was what, like $33 million budget?
which was huge.
That was considered a huge budget.
Right.
If I halved that budget, I'm going to be honest, I would have expected better visuals than this. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's fair.
I don't know who did the effects, like what effects house did, and that could be where you put good money, but if you're only as good as the effects house you get for these shots. Like there were a couple of shots, when the fighters were deploying out of the spaceships, where I could tell there was like a tiny shadow at the beginning of the sequence, and you could tell when it was looping. Like obviously it's looping, but it just little things like that. Or as we were joking about the giant claw excavator shot that we saw probably 6-7 times repeated,
at least
in this. Well, aside from effects, let's keep on the people for a moment. Tristan, you're casting for your 1990 boardroom, and you are lucky enough to get Roscoe Lee Brown and his velvety voice of power, of command. You also get that weird general guy, or whoever he was. There was a weird casting all around that table. But what were your thoughts on just how they framed this movie with that boardroom scene, with it's the far future and Moon 44. They're trying to make us care, but how is that scene playing off to you?
The general guy was so terrible.
So bad.
I didn't believe a single word that came out of his mouth, and you could tell that Roscoe Lee Brown was clearly doing somebody a favor. Same with McDowell.
Yeah,
they were clearly.
This is post Clockwork Orange. Like McDowell can pick his movies at this point, I'm sure.
Well, keep in mind, McDowell, just like any other actor, has a fallow period at one point, right? Like Alec Guinness was having his fallow period when he hit Star Wars, and
That's
McDowell true. He had a little bit of a career resurgence in the 90s, and this is not when he's a high in demand actor yet, right? He hasn't had that resurgence, as I recall it.
We're 4 years from Generations, so
yes. And I think that by the amount of screen time, I think that Brown and McDowell were paid for about 2 days worth of work each.
Oh, definitely.
If that. Yeah. It's like, all right, I'm here. You get, you know what? You paid for 8
sets,
hours.
3 action shots. That's it.
Yes. At least one of them got to be Calculon and come on and go, I don't do 2 takes. Amateurs do 2 takes. But yeah, and that doesn't take anything away from them. Like McDowell and Brown, I don't think are giving their most inspired performances, but they showed up. And they remembered their lines and they delivered them as well as this movie deserved.
Brown was the best thing in that room. That everything.
Oh God, yes.
Like if he was not in there, like you would have lost a lot out of that movie. Totally. And he's delivering all his lines like they're Shakespeare, and they're not Shakespeare, but he's committed, which I have to appreciate.
Yeah, it was man, I can't get over Michael Pear as Felix Stone. He's just a charismatic void in the shape of a man. He just sucked the energy out of the room with whatever scene he was in. And you start off with a horrible conference room scene, and then you're like, this couldn't get any worse. And then Felix Stone walks in, and all of a sudden we're supposed to think he's a smart cop because
he's a maverick. He's on the edge with bullets.
Yeah, because he reads books. So whoo,
hey man, the thing is, Pear is not he's not in demand the way a Russell Crowe at the height of his career is. He's not like a Christian Bale, but he is an actor who consistently gets work in these B movie ranges.
Okay. No. He does not consistently get work in B movie ranges. He consistently gets work in D movie ranges. If you look at his filmography, I mean, yeah, this guy's a worker. He's made a career out of acting. Kudos to him. But you look at his filmography, and the only place you're going to find those movies, if you find a physical copy at all, is at the bottom of a Walmart bin. That's the only place you're going to find those movies.
Hold on, he was in The Lincoln Lawyer. That was a movie that was in theaters. right?
Yeah,
So
but he wasn't the lead in the Lincoln Lawyer.
That's true, but that's what I'm saying is, listen, he's the type of actor I think that, yes, he's got a niche, but I think that the director, I always borrow from Ebert, right? The director is the one that's responsible for getting the performance out of the actor that he needs. And I think that it's very apparent that Pear got no direction other than, okay, sit there, pull the cigarette out, light the cigarette. Like
Tyler
there's
had
no
more
infusion here.
emoting in this entire movie. Dean Devlin, I felt like that was the character I probably connected with the most. He had goals.
Yeah, you had to. He was the only one that had any kind of clear, defined motivation. I mean, he spelled it out for us, but he was the only one.
I mean, I think that Leon Rippey's Master Sergeant Sykes had a very clear motivation to be loud and angry with everybody. And listen, I like a good old fashioned Leon Rippey performance. I do. I like the guy.
Leon Rippey
is always a joy.
He is better than this movie. I think
he kind of is. Yeah.
I think he's one of the few actors that you might not recognize. I mean, we're all big sci-fi fans, so we know who Brian Thompson is. Brian Thompson, he's a worker. He shows up. He looks like he's going to break you in two, and he does his job.
He looks
does
like
it
a
well.
Klingon when he's not in Klingon makeup.
Yeah.
Like he's got that jawline for days.
Big Brian Thompson fan here. And like John, like you said, Malcolm McDowell and Brown clearly showed up for the day and said, like, this is what you got. But Leon Rippey, he has done really great work. And unfortunately, we're not going to cover Roland Emmerich's 2000 film, The Patriot. But Leon Rippey gives a phenomenal, heart-wrenching performance in that movie.
I haven't watched that in a very long time. Stay tuned, everybody. Maybe we do a head fake for The Patriot, because I haven't seen that since it was in movie theaters, and I want to give it another chance because I hated it back in 2000. But anyway, I think that I did. But I like Leon Rippey. That's the thing, is like a movie like this is not good. Okay, spoilers for my review at the end of the show. I'm sorry, it's not good. But if there was a little more of that Leon Rippey vibe throughout this, somebody else had shown up with his sense of like, I'm going to just absolutely kick this script in the teeth, and I'm going to make it seem like I absolutely have to deliver these lines. I needed one more Leon Rippey. I mean, Dean Devlin he's trying to do something. So at least there's something happening there.
He's trying. You can tell Dean Devlin is trying. Is he the greatest actor ever? No, but he's there. He showed up. He said his lines. He had them memorized. He's like, I'm here, boss.
And that's the thing where I'll give you credit with your criticism of Michael Pear is I needed Leon Rippey energy in that Felix Stone character. I didn't need subdued dude. I needed fire in that role.
Michael Pear was trying to play cool and aloof, but unfortunately, he is not cool and aloof. Neither am I. If I try to play cool and aloof, it would not come off. It just doesn't work. It's not his lane. Maybe he developed it later on. Maybe he's like the coolest and most aloof person in later movies. I have no idea. But in this one, you can tell he is betraying himself by. There's so many times, and I've seen this in student films. I've seen it I've seen it in theater. I've seen it in person. I've seen it in low budget movies where the actor tries to play disinterested or aloof, and they just come off as sleepy. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what happened with Michael Pear.
Mm-hmm. I'd say that's fair. But again, the director could have fixed that. Could have given him notes and gotten something, because I don't think that even a movie like this does only one take for every scene. They have to have tried at least twice for each go round. And you'd think that in the course of it, Emmerich would have said, no, you know what? I need something a little more oomph here. Give me something with fire in this
And it's
scene.
completely on a soundstage. Like there's nothing outside anywhere in this entire movie. So you have control of your element. I was almost thinking about the framing device of the I've watched Aliens and The Company and all of that. It'd almost be better if you took all that out all the, Flash Gordon crawl of the year is this, and this is what mining is, and like all that out. And you just drop us on a planet, and you have two gangs. You have the prisoners that have to be pilots, and you have the navigators that have some, millennial screwed over contract that they can't get out of, being squashed by the man. Just start the story there, and you can still have one of the, better than most prisoners discover that someone's stealing the shuttles and try to report it up. And like, you could have the same bones of the story, but just jump right in and spend more time with it. That's actually a better, like, I would think, oh man, that's actually pretty good. But yeah. And then, don't do the double agent. Don't have Stone be a company man cop that we know, like, just make him another convict and take it from there. I think that would be much more interesting, or at least get the point across.
Well, I completely agree with you. Have him be a convict for, I mean, how many times do we see something like the Con Air sort of vibe where it's like, I'm a convict because I killed the right people because they were the wrong people to be alive or something like that. But like, and have him delivered there, and he shows up, he's been convicted. And the only time we encounter with the company is when somebody's trying to report up the theft and we're being attacked. And like you said, Darren, we're claustrophobic. We're trapped on this thing. We've got to get out of here because the bad guys are coming. And you actually wind up saving a ton of budget and hokey effects by not having that attack in the beginning. That's where, I mean, honestly, it happens with like zero context. And you're just like,
right.
What
Moon
is happening
right being destroyed or whatever. And it's like, oh, that means Moon 44 is next. Okay, all of that budget spent for dun, they're next. That's not worth it. That's not good spending of your money. But yeah, I think also with this movie, you're here in the early 90s, you're trying to push the story through, but again, I'm looking forward to seeing where it's going, seeing Dean Devlin, who is going to be a major player with Roland. Like, they're going to be partnered up. He's going to be producing many of his films going forward, and this is where it all started. So I really like that fact of, this is definitely a chapter we don't want to ignore from his history. Is it like, oh, he graduated from film school, made this, and everyone was like, oh, he's going somewhere? No, this movie does not tell you that, but it is poising him and putting people in his life, in his path, that are going to pay off in dividends in the next decade that we're going to be covering.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, Devlin and Emmerich, they became like virtually unstoppable, producer director duo in the 90s. The two names are literally synonymous with each other, like all the way into the early
Devlin
2000s.
Didn't make himself be the lead actor of all those movies, like some other directors we've covered.
You know what? You have to, but honestly, you have to give Devlin credit on that, because obviously he's trying to become an actor. But then he realizes, well, maybe my path is better suited in this other way to come in. And I know that's going to show up, as we have those discussions on the next batch of movies and everything. But I just, it's one of those things where it's unfortunate because nobody ever wants to spend time trashing a movie. And like I said, this has got to be somebody's favorite. Like, this is somebody's Mad Max or something like that. And it's just amazing because, like, I literally would love to sit down with somebody who loves this movie and say, take through it. Why? I want to understand, because while I was watching this, I got, I love Leon Rippey's energy and everything like that. I didn't get anything redeemable. I didn't get any sort of music cues that I thought was neat. I didn't get any sort of like nifty thing that happened, like, I don't know. I struggle with saying anything really overly positive about the movie outside of it ended and it was over in less than 2 hours, and therefore I can't hold a grudge.
It was short. That is true. I will say there was one shot that I literally rewound and watched it again. And it was the first time it was the first or second, where they're gearing up to take off, I think, for the trainings. So everyone's going to their space helicopters. And it's actually a really well done false dolly shot where the dolly is actually going across, it goes past a pillar, and then you see the bay with the helicopter, and above it says 6. And so, like, you know, we see the two guys walk behind the pillar, and then the exact right timing, they come out the other side, they give each other fist bumps, one goes off and gets in his, and then we go by another pillar, and then we're in bay 7 and then bay 8, and I'm pretty sure it's the same bay 4 times with plates swapped out to say the different numbers, but they nailed the timing of entering and exiting the pillar, of it blocking out the shot for an instant, that I thought at first, I'm like, wait, that's a large set to build. But because of the pillar, I'm like, that's telling me this might be a trick shot. And then I watched it again and it was a little more obvious, but I was really impressed with that. That was a really well done, like, use of, we only have one bay, but we want to make it seem like there's, you know, 4. And I think they pulled it off really well.
I mean, that's fair. That is, I guess, the sort of thing that we're watching Moon 44, you know, to get, which, you know, you alluded to previously, is like, where do I see, listen, let's not pretend like we don't know the movies we're about to go into. It's not like we're discovering Roland Emmerich for the first time in the 1990s.
What he's going
right?
to do next?
Ooh, what's Universal Soldier going to be like? But that is the sort of technical thing that you want to look for, to say, okay, is this somebody who at least has the baseline technical skill, so that when he gets a bigger budget and a little bit more control, you know, yeah, like, is he going to be able to keep that production on the rails? Because ultimately that's what it's always about, is getting the production to look the best it possibly can. I just think Moon 44 is screwed out of the hatch. This is just something that was never going to gel the way it needed to. I need to know that, like, I don't think that this is even a movie where, if the effects were somehow amazing, would have been like, this to me is right. I got drunk and I'm watching it on UHF on Saturday night because my date fell through. Right. And I'm just sort of like wallowing.
New. It's nothing breathtaking. It's not making me think, like Tristan said, what are we meant to think? What are we meant to feel? Who are we supposed to root for? And all that's kind of left up in the air. Or, you know, and
then he doesn't even have the stones to destroy the data tape at the end.
What a weird ending,
right?
Yeah, it was
bizarre.
That was really weird.
What a flat, just like flat world, 2-dimensional ending that was.
Why
it was
didn't
so
he shoot
strange.
It? There was really no reason for him not to.
Like, so the dude takes a gun, I don't care if it's loaded or unloaded, into a boardroom with a bunch of like high-powered officials who apparently own parts of the universe. And then he walks out after threatening them, and Brown just kind of gives him a smile. Credits.
Yeah, and then it's done. It's like, oh, and then we ran out of film.
Okay.
And it's
right.
over.
Here's my charge to anybody listening to the sound of my voice. I want that ending redone as a Mentos commercial. I think it can be done. I think it can work.
Mentos, the fresh maker.
Yeah. Only Michael Parrott doesn't turn around at the end. He just keeps walking.
He keeps walking.
Yeah.
And
or it's like that Linkin Park meme that was popular a couple of years ago.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, but that ending, yeah, there's just so much about this. It just doesn't make sense.
You mean the Optimus Prime ending of Transformers where they're playing the is that the one you're thinking of? Yeah.
The meme I was talking about? Yeah, that's the one.
I'm
he's not cool enough to pull that off. I'm sorry.
No.
He gets Mentos and that's it. And he's lucky.
Hey, it's not a bad way.
You wish you had Transformers. You get Mentos.
You wish you had. Oh, giant robots. That's all we even had. Robots in this.
Good day, sir.
All right. Well, as we're quickly rounding third, because we're running out of things to talk about, this did have music by Joel Goldsmith, who is not Jerry Goldsmith, but it's music. Again, I didn't feel like it was directly ripping off any other particular sci-fi, even though the story and many of the other plot points were. But I think all I really know him from are other pieces that he had partnered up on other things, like Stargate and so forth. But any other musicness pop out, or is this our normal check the box movie?
There is absolutely nothing special about this music in the least. However, the connection is that later Joel Goldsmith worked with, at least a production company behind this for Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis. So that's a Devlin and Emmerich production sort of thing. So it's like that comes back into their life. I didn't watch those shows. Was the music good for those shows?
Well, but I'm almost wondering, because I think he's also on Stargate. I'm wondering if he's also tagged because of literally the intro, like, which was taken over from the movie. I think he did, like you said, some within the episodes, but I think a lot of his credit is just the theme that was reused and thus, gets you. It's like, it's like the TNG theme. It's like, well, that's used in the movies, but it's also just played at the beginning of every episode. So it doesn't mean you're there,
I think you're
that.
right, because he's credited for every single episode.
Okay, then it's got to be the theme.
Yeah.
That's got to be
okay.
the movies, yeah.
But
it's
David,
an awesome theme. I'm not gonna. I love it. It's a good theme.
But David Arnold did the movie music, so I guess Joel Goldsmith did the music just for the show's theme. I didn't watch the show, so I don't know if the theme is the same. So
no, you're right. He isn't listed under the credits for the movie. But it could have been maybe a versioning, like where they adjusted and tweaked it for television. I don't know. It would take more research than
we don't know.
Willing to do.
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. All right. Well, it's everyone's favorite time here on Houselights. We're going to be talking about our good friend Lance Reddick, who we've never met. Where are we going to place him in this movie? There's a couple obvious choices, a couple of interesting choices. Maybe he's going to be Felix Stone. Tristan, where are you placing Lance in Moon 44?
Oh, like you want to put him in like a dignified role, like with something where he could like portray his gravitas. So, like you want to put him in something like, Brown's role,
Chairman Hall. Yeah.
Chairman Hall. Or, he could easily do Malcolm McDowell's role, like add some sinister feel to it. But because Michael Paré was just so god awful, like having the ability to replace him, I'm going to do that. Like even in a hypothetical imaginary world, I'm putting Lance Reddick at the top of this bill.
I can't disagree. That's where I was putting him too, because I swing for the fences. Let's try to bring some life into this thing and let's just make it work. And I think it's the only choice you have. Like you have your time machine and it's like, this is the one thing you can do to try to fix this movie. I'm like, Felix Stone's gotta be Lance Reddick, because at least that guy, I know that Reddick is going to give me somebody I care about, where I'm kind of like, okay, I'm with you. And I will forgive more of what's wrong with the movie if I got him in that role.
Or if I had even more godlike powers, I'd make him the writer and director, because I feel like he'd do a better job.
Probably so. That's a fair point. Fair point.
Well, yeah, like I said, I was initially leaning towards the very obvious, make him Chairman Hall. But I thought Roscoe did a great job in that. I mean, for what he was given, he was definitely the man of every minute of those scenes. And Mentos commercials aside, I don't really want to rewatch it, imagining Lance as Felix Stone, but I'll just use my imagination of what little I remember from the last 98 minutes. But all right, so we have another unanimous Lance Reddick placement as Felix Stone. First time putting him as top billing, but that's not hard to see why. Okay, as we're gonna slide into our ratings, keep this train going, Tristan, and tell me why it might be a 1. Who knows? What did this one get?
This gets a half star.
Ooh. Okay.
This is the first half star I've ever given on this podcast. This is a step above Birdemic in my eyes. This movie is trash. I mean this. It has no redeeming value. I don't know if I've been coy about it at the beginning. I may have been a little sneaky about how I feel, but
I mean, we could have done the ratings at the very beginning. No one changed anyone's minds on this 40-minute discussion.
There's so much wrong with it. Like this is one of those films where like a 1-star would be a Walmart bin. Half-star is how in blue perfect hell did this movie get funding? It tried to, like, so Emmerich and whomever tried to get the step in the door, into the American filmmakers, platform, and they failed so spectacularly that they got theatrical releases outside of America, but they got straight to video in America. So this was your shot to get into America, and you winded up straight to video. Now, obviously, he did something. He got noticed by someone because he got Universal Soldier, and like Darren, like you talked about, like this is the beginning of him getting into, like, this is the guy did Independence Day, Good Lord, yeah, that's huge.
In 6 years, he did Independence Day. It's
six
crazy, crazy turnabout.
But I can't. I don't see anything here. I don't see any of that here. This movie sucks. I
feel horrible for laughing at that. I really do. Really feel horrible laughing at that. But in a sense, I enjoy your pain. That's why I show up every week. And I can honestly say that my rating reflects the fact that I just have consumed so many more terrible movies than you have. I think
you have. Oh no, I know you have. You have.
It's one of those things where, like, if you eat enough like hot peppers, eventually over time you're like, I really need a ghost pepper to feel pain anymore. Something like this is right in my alley of bargain basement. Like I was saying, can't get a date, or my date fell through. It's Saturday night. I'm getting a little bit drunk to wallow in my self-pity. I got a giant bag of Doritos and I'm eating the whole damn thing because nobody can tell me otherwise. And if I don't eat dinner, it's not as bad for me, sort of thing. It's all going to be like my calories are the Doritos. And so it's a 1 for me, because no, this is not just one step up from Birdemic. This at least has coherent sentence structures. Therefore, it is a full star above Birdemic, which is a 0. I reserve half stars for my gag. Always is if they manage to complete the movie and or they did not accidentally kill half the cast. And I'm like, well, everybody survived, so and it got released. Okay, cool. They get a star. Good for them. So yeah, that is a 1 star for me. I will maybe never watch it again, but there is a conceivable point where I watch it because I just want to rag on something. I would love it if Riff Tracks did this movie.
I was just thinking that Riff Tracks would be perfect. This is right for Riff. Well, and
man,
I was thinking, I think music wise, because when I was looking up Joel, he did like Laser Blast or something, which is another well-known Riff Tracks where the guy's got like the giant tube laser arm. Like, yeah, DC movies. These are not gems or diamonds in the rough, anything like that. But yeah, I will also give this a 1. I mean, I think we're really literally only watching it to see where it goes for him. And besides the one shot that I rewatched because I was so impressed with it, and the 7 times I had to watch the other shot because they had to re-show it to me, yeah, there's nothing particularly special. I mean, I do always try to remember the fact that, people don't go out trying to make bad movies, and there is only so much you can kind of glean from the script and the paper before anything's even shot and anything's even happened. But there are also a lot of, like, especially with the direct copying of Aliens and Blade Runner, like, do you think that's going to pay off? Like, it's not an homage. It's just a worse version of a crappy story. Like I don't know, but like you guys have also said, I think you're right. Of if you are given a budget and given a semi decent idea, why not throw your hat in the ring? Why not if you have that drive? He obviously has that drive to be a director and continue on with that. So yeah, this is his first step, and I think honestly, it is really only the pairing of him and of Devlin that saves his career going forward, because that is really where it goes, of having the right stories and being in the right place in the right time. Because yeah, I'm not seeing anything that's like, let's give this guy a bigger budget because I think that's what that's gonna make the difference. Like, no, I don't. But we will see. So 0.5, 1, and 1. It can barely buy a soda for that cost. But we did have a Universal Lance Reddick with Felix Stone. A Walmart bin for Moon 44. But it does get us started here in this new house with Emmerich of the 90s. So next week, we're going to be jumping 2 years to Universal Soldier. Is that going to make it or break it? Here on Houselights.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.